I think the concept of my choice to mainly shoot film this year is born from a place of subjective mystery. The mystery of how E.T.'s finger could glow, how that Nazi's face is literally turning into a liquid bubble bath in Indiana Jones, how space came to life soaring across the galaxy with the Millennium Falcon. These were the things that drove me as a child. As far back as I can remember, I've been a storyteller, and the main way I chose to accomplish this medium was visual, be it video or photography. Film is what I started with when I was young, but I never thought about it as this tool that was better or worse than VHS camcorders or any other camera system that was available to me. I just used it to try and tell the best story. And I may fail a lot these days, but I can tell that this objective has stayed the same all these years, if not more with this influence of using film over digital most of the time this year. There's a payoff that's almost impossible to describe, but you feel it. And that's something I've almost felt we've been missing from the world of film for quite some time. Oppenheimer might be the first real film I've experienced in over the last 4 or 5 years. Let me start over a little bit. Of course, I've been to the movies a handful of times. I've seen it all from Dune to Puss in Boots and beyond. There has also been an endless rollout of streamable, bingeable, limited snippets of content, but I think it's fair to say that storytelling in a post-pandemic world took a little while to find its footing again. Now, in no way am I claiming Oppenheimer is the only good thing to happen at all, but I wanted to talk about it now that it's been out for a few weeks. There's been plenty of streaming-only films that were totally badass and worthy of praise. Hell, Nolan's own film Tenet was shot almost exactly the same way as Oppenheimer, and only came out a few years ago. But there's truly something different when it comes to this film that reminds me of this search for excellence in the stories we'd all like to tell with our images. But I can hear you're asking, what does this have to do with film photography? At some point in my creative career, I was convinced that film was a dying format, that the results would look outdated. Almost the equivalent of a low megapixel digital camera, but I was wrong, and in some cases I believe the industry has been wrong too. So in a time where creative minds and workers are speaking out against the unfair livable wages, which I won't speak for them, this is their fight.
We will not allow you to take away our dignity!
But in solidarity to their cause, I thought we could explore what cost-cutting has done to the overall quality of our stories, and the legacies they will lead in the end. When I first graduated high school and took a focus in photography and filmmaking in college, shooting motion picture film, that's 35mm film, was the end-all, be-all format to eventually work up to. A few films have been shot digitally over the previous decade, but that had mostly been at the expense of costs or in pursuit of technology over storytelling. However, when I left college, there was this boom of the digital DSLR short film project. You can see this influence of 7D and 5D Mark IIs dominating the overall style of this time. All of these projects were fun and influenced the next, the further we pushed ourselves.
You're drunk. Come on, man, we talked about this!
We saw the end of tape-based media and the birth of the mostly now SD card way of capturing. Previous to this, it had always seemed like digital was something we were doing to learn until we were ready for 35mm film.
What is this?
But with this craze of the DSLR, we kind of lost sight of that for the more accessible way to tell our stories. And in a lot of ways it was really great because more people than ever were able to be part of the conversation, to be creative. And I made more short films than I ever thought I would get to during this time. But nothing quite had the same mystery as the 16mm short film I shot in college for a project we were assigned. Most of these short films were hours and hours of dense filings of gigabytes, but the 16mm was shot in less than 9 minutes of film. That's all I had to work with, and sometimes that limitation can push you further into excellence. And I know I haven't even come close to that level of potential yet, but I'm pretty sure Oppenheimer is as close as I've ever seen in a long time. The fact that Christopher Nolan went to Kodak and created a brand new film recipe for true black and white IMAX negatives still gives me hope that there is more innovation to be had in this tool of medium, that the sunset has not yet started.
The results were just magical and inspiring.
And it'd be nice if he stopped breaking IMAX cameras. You know, kind of expensive, Chris, but I'll let you keep doing what you're doing. There was a buzz in that room that opening weekend that I haven't experienced in a movie theater in a long time. And if you were lucky enough to catch it in IMAX like I was, the rattle of the film projector alone took me somewhere I still wish I could go to this day. A place where images are filled with mystery. Now, this doesn't mean that film is all there is to make. It's amazing that everyone has a voice these days, but the truly great work will always slip through the cracks and rise up to the surface. The world has changed a lot since the ending of Inception blew all of our minds, but the magic trick of film will never stop dazzling us with its never-ending spin.
The magic of movies is connected to 35mm because everyone thinks, you can't help but think, that when you're filming something on film, that you're recording movement. You're not recording movement. You are just taking a series of still pictures. There's no movement in movies at all. They are still pictures. But when shown at 24 frames a second through a light bulb, it creates the illusion of movement. So thus, as opposed to a recording device, when you're watching a movie, a film print, you are watching an illusion. And to me, that illusion is connected to the magic of movies.